Hello and welcome to this month's Czarny seminar. Today is April 1st, and this is running a little late. It's not an April Fool's joke. The reason we're running a little late, we were supposed to do this in March last Thursday, is that this month's Czarny seminar, the last month's Czarny seminar, was supposed to be doing on how to file petitions and objections. Well, the governor and the legislature decided to extend the filing deadline for designating petitions that happens next week. And I was waiting for that legislation to be signed and guidance to be offered by the New York State Board of Elections with a new political calendar before I went ahead and actually made this seminar. So I am recording this today on Saturday, April 1st. There are no tricks in it. It is all up-to-date guidance, and it will cover the filing periods for designating petitions, independent petitions, and opportunity to ballot petitions. If you're not sure what those are, I refer you to my February Czarny seminar, How to Get on the Ballot, which went over exactly the differences with those three different petitions and what to expect and how to get on the ballot in New York State. So again, this seminar is only about how to file those petitions and make objections on those petitions, since there have been a few changes in 2023, and this seminar will stand for all three petition periods that will be happening over the next couple of months. So without any further ado, I'm going to get on to the next Czarny seminar, how to file petitions and make objections at the Onondaga County Board of Elections. And welcome to my Czarny seminar, how to file petitions and objections at the Board of Elections in 2023. There's been a lot of changes this year due to some legislation passed last year and also some last-minute legislation passed just last week. So stay tuned, and these slides will be put up later in the week as well for you to watch as well. But here is my Czarny seminar. So we're first going to deal with the filing petitions. The boards of elections are your first stop in running for office. We have information on filing deadlines and office eligibility. And while we are a bipartisan board, our mission is to help any citizen wanting to run for office, regardless of party. The Onondaga County Board of Elections is located at 1000 Erie Boulevard West, Syracuse, New York, 13204. And we're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. on filing days. Normally, we're only open to 4:30 p.m., but for the purposes of filing petitions, we will be open to 5 p.m. every day that there is a filing scheduled to be happening or happening. So that is a lot of the month of April. You can contact us at 315-435-VOTE. Look for us on Facebook at OCBOFE or on Twitter at OCBOE. And our email is elections@ongov.net. You can also find us on the web on our website, onvote.net, which has a lot of information regarding how to run for office, how to vote, and anything that you believe that you need in your service as a voter or candidate in Onondaga County. So first thing you need to know is your petition deadlines. There are different types of petitions, and they have different dates for circulating as well as filing. For 2023, the three types of petitions to be filed are designating for candidates filing under a recognized party, opportunity ballot, which forces a write-in primary, and independent nominating for candidates running without party backing. Some things to keep in mind: designating petitions passing period is February 28th through April 6th. Filing periods are April 3rd through the 10th in 2023. That has been changed because the legislature and the governor extended the filing deadline from April 6th to April 10th because of Passover falling on Thursday. However, they did not extend the passing deadline. So that means that petitions can be gathered up until midnight on April 6th, 2023, and then you have to stop. But you have the whole weekend to get your petitions to get ready for filing on Monday, April 10th, which is the last day to file. Opportunity ballot petitions passing period is March 21st through April 13th, 2023. And filing petitions before or on April 13th, 2023. Independent nominating petition period are April 18th through May 31st, 2023. And the filing period is May 24th through the 31st, 2023. Although I always say that the filing period, the passing period kind of ends the day before on May 30th, since you cannot actually pass signatures usually during the day. Most people aren't home, and you have time to actually get your petitions together. So technically, you could still pass them on May 31st and file those petitions by 5 p.m. or by mail that day. And again, the legislature passed an exemption for filing because of Passover for designating petitions, but not any other period. How and where to file petitions. The best way to file a petition is to do it in person. The Board of Elections will make a copy of your cover sheet, and that is time-stamped, and it will act as your receipt. If you make arrangements ahead of time, we can take a cursory look at your petitions. All petitions must be bound and numbered, and some will need cover sheets. Any mailed petitions must be postmarked no later than the last day to file and received no later than 2 business days after the last day to file. Some races that cross county lines must be filed in the New York State Board of Elections in Albany, New York. So where Onondaga County races file petitions? At the New York State Board of Elections, the Democratic Judicial Districts in the 126th and 127th Assembly file petitions there. And all local offices will be filed here at the Onondaga County Board of Elections in 2023. Binding and numbering. All petitions must be bound together. For small petitions, this can be as simple as a staple. Larger petition packages can be split into separate volumes for easier packaging. Recommendations. Staple petitions less than 10 pages long. For petitions over 10 pages, use the 2-hole punch at top of page and binder clips. Do not tape or spiral bound petitions. We have to scan petitions, which means that we have to take them apart and put them through a scanner. Using tape or spiral bounds will just cause us to rip that apart and may damage the petition because we do have to scan them in. So we ask you not to tape or spiral bound your petitions. Split large petition packages into separate volumes. We recommend no more than 100 sheets in a volume. Double check to make sure all sheets are numbered sequentially at the lower right-hand corner. And then sheets in separate volumes can continue in same sequential order or start over in each volume. Cover sheets. There's a brand new cover sheet that has been issued by the New York State Board of Elections, although you can use the old cover sheet if you've already planned to do that. Any petition with 10 or more pages must have a cover sheet for each volume that is being submitted. The cover sheet should have the same candidates and offices on it. Things to keep in mind. The Board of Elections will help prepare a cover sheet if a request is made before submitting petitions. A cover page should have the volume numbers filled out, even if there's only one volume. A contact person on the cover sheet can be designated to cure deficiencies. However, if it is blank, we will contact the candidates listed. And there's a new email notification option for all updates. Instead of waiting for mail notifications, I highly recommend doing that. As you know, the mail can be lost or delayed, and we are not responsible for that at the Board of Elections. So if you want timely notifications, I would put in an email. Petition corrections. Often campaigns will look to scrub petitions to make corrections or mistakes on omissions the petition passers make. It's important to keep these guidelines in mind. Who can change? A date. The date can be changed by either the person who has signed the petition or the witness, and they must be initialed. The signature. Changes to the signature can only be made by the signer of the petition. Address and towns. Address and town corrections do not need to be initialed and can be done by others. Changes should only be an attempt to add clarification and not wholly altering data. Witness statements. Before turning in petitions, you should make sure your witness statements are properly filled out. Alterations to witness statements are not allowed after filing. Affidavits can be filed when filing the petition to correct witness statements. This is a witness statement up here, and this is a notary statement. Things to look for. Make sure the witness statement is properly filled out. Only the witness can correct or add information above the signature line. The number of signatures is a fatal defect when missing. Undercounting will result in only the signatures counting that appear first. Witness must be a registered voter in the party that is on the petition somewhere in New York State to be a valid witness. For independent nominating petitions, that can be any voter in New York State since they do not run on parties. Corrections on witness statements must be done by the witness. The Four Corners verification. There is an assumption of validity for all petitions turned in at the OCBOE. We do a Four Corners check of the petition to make sure it is proper to file. These are things readily apparent to a cursory examination. Things the Board of Elections verifies. Listed candidate is registered to vote and eligible to run for that office, including party registration. Cover sheet is attached to all petitions over 10 pages. Petition package is properly bound. Page numbers are sequential. And note, we do not count signatures unless it is readily apparent the petition is deficient. So what does that mean? If somebody needed 1,000 signatures to qualify for the ballot and they only turn in, a dozen pages or so, then we may order our staff to double check the number of petitions. But normally we do not count them. We have an assumption of validity, and it is up to the candidates to make objections for numbers of signatures. And we happily provide a copy of the petition to you to do that count and make those objections. Authorizations, acceptances, and substitutions. This is mainly if you're running in the Conservative Party or Working Families Party, in addition to your Democrat or Republican Party, or even independent nominating petitions need authorizations to run. Things to look for. If you are filing a designating petition for a recognized party you are not a part of, or an independent nominating petition, you must also file an acceptance form with your petition by April 14th, 2023 for designating, and June 2nd, 2023 for independent nominating. Candidates, parties allowing a candidate not of that party to file a designating petition must file an authorization, also known as a Wilson-Pakula, by April 14th, 2023. This applies only to designating petitions. Candidates have until April 14th, 2023 to decline designating petitions, and June 2nd, 2023 for independent petitions. And the only way to get off the ballot by not moving, death, or being nominated for judge, or losing a primary. So you have to be willing to actually decline your petition early on if you want to get off the ballot, unless you move, die, or you're nominated for judge, or you lose a primary for one of the other lines. And the deadline for the primary is June 30th, 2023. Substitutions can be made by April 18th, 2023 for designating petitions, and June 5th, 2023 for independent nominating petitions. Authorizations for substitutions are due by April 24th, 2023 for designating petitions only, because they're the only ones that need authorization. And judicial candidates and offices are exempt from those requirements. They don't have to get authorization to run on parties because they're judges, and they can run on any line at any time they want, as long as they get the number of required signatures. Petition scans. For easiest access, the Onondaga County Board of Elections scans in all petitions received. We also put a daily list of petitions received on onvote.net. New York State Board of Election does the same for the petitions they receive. Some key points. The OCBOE and New York State Board of Elections will upload a file each night to onvote.net and elections.ny.gov for the state board. They'll be uploaded before we leave each night. Petitions will be scanned as soon as possible in order received. Petitions received late in the day may not be scanned until the next day. Objection period starts even if the petitions are not yet scanned in. They start upon filing. Ask for scans of petitions from your party's commissioner or any staff, and they can be emailed to you, free of charge, by the way. If we have to print it out, it's going to cost you 25 cents a page. Board of Elections. Objections. The Board of Elections can receive objections to file petitions. Objections are limited to several areas. Objection guidelines. Petition signers and witnesses can be challenged for wrong addresses, missing dates, or being enrolled in the wrong party. The Board of Elections will not rule on claims of fraud, such as non-matching signatures or improper collection. That can only be done in judicial proceedings. Objections must follow the guidelines posted. Find our detailed procedures on onvote.net under election regulations. And this is a general objection form. General objections are the first step to objecting to petitions at the Board of Elections. Things to keep in mind. Must be filed within 3 business days of when a petition is filed. It preserves your right to make specific objections later, often seen as the placeholder while campaigns and parties do more research. Does not obligate an objector to later file specifics. If specifics aren't filed, the petition is valid. These are specific objections. Specific objections is what the BOE uses to determine the validity of a challenge petition. Some things to keep in mind. It must be filed within 6 days of when a general objection is filed. And by the way, that 6 days start from either the postmark of the general election or a general objection, or if it's filed at the counter at the board, that's 6 days. So if you mail a general objection, the 6 days doesn't start when we receive it. It starts at the date of the postmark. Proof of service for specific objections on petition candidates must be filed with the objection or shortly thereafter. This proof must be overnight mail or personal service. I'm going to go over this in the next slide. A cover sheet and listing of specific objections must be provided at the time of filing and cannot be supplemented later. So once you file specifics, that's it. And keys to objections can be made. See the examples on our website. So we've had some changes in 2023 for specifications of objections. This is the language on this slide is directly lifted from the New York State Board of Elections guidance, because I wanted to be exact about this. Specifications are due 6 days after the general objections. Unlike the due date for the general objections, the due date for the specification is measured from the filing date with no extension for mailing. Example, the general objection is mailed, thus filed, on Tuesday and arrives at the board on Wednesday. The specification is due 6 days from Tuesday, the following Monday. Service of specifications. When and how it is now mandatory that the objector send a duplicate copy of the specifications. For a petition or certificate for public office sent to each objected candidate thereon. For a petition for party position sent to each objected to candidate named therefore, or to the first named person on the committee to fill vacancies. And for an opportunity ballot petition sent to all members of the committee to receive notices. The method of service for these duplicate objections, there are only 2 methods permitted for service by an objector or an objected to candidate. Personal delivery or overnight mail. So what constitutes overnight mail? USPS Priority Express next day, Gold Standard, New York State Election Law 11063 probably makes the overnight next day services from DHL Express, FedEx overnight, and UPS next day sufficient. Service of specification deadlines. The objector must serve the specification of objections on the objected to candidate on or before the date of filing the objection with the Board of Elections. Example, specifications are filed at the board at 9:05 a.m., but the service on the required candidate occurs by express mail, mailing done at 10 a.m. the same day. This is acceptable because the service occurred on the date when specifications were filed at the board. Proof of service. Proof of service that the specifications were served on the required person must be filed with the Board of Elections. The proof may accompany the specifications or be received by the end of 2 business days following the filing of specifications, whichever is latest. So all of these changes are slight changes to the specifications that we've been doing here at the Board of Elections for the last couple of years. But keep this slide in mind. It is very important to know what how you have to do this, or else if you do these specifications without serving it to the objector in the proper manner, then it will not, and giving that proof to the Board of Elections, those objections will not be counted. Hearings. Once a specific objection is filed, the OCBOE will do a preliminary finding and set up a hearing to make a final ruling. There are different procedures for the New York State Board of Elections and the Onondaga County Board of Elections. However, some things to keep in mind. Bipartisan staff reviews the specific objections and makes recommendations on whether to uphold or deny the objections. A hearing date will be set, and the objector and all candidates will be invited. At the hearing, all sides will be given an opportunity to present further evidence on the objections made. No further objections can be submitted. Commissioners will rule on each individual objection. It takes both commissioners to uphold an objection. At the New York State Board of Elections, a bipartisan team of hearing officer and a clerk will conduct the hearing and make rulings and findings, and will be approved by the New York State Board of Elections commissioners at their next monthly meeting. Once the ruling is done, and that will determine ballot eligibility for the petition, we will count remaining valid signatures, and if tied or over the minimum signatures, it will be ruled valid. Court proceedings. The last vestige to challenge a petition or ruling from the OCBOE and New York State BOE is court proceedings. Things to keep in mind. If your petition is challenged, or you are challenging a petition and want to avail yourself of the judicial system, it is advised to get a legal representation to do the filings. If you are challenging a petition, you must file court paperwork within 14 days on the last day to file petitions, and regardless of whether the OCBOE or New York State Board of Elections has made a ruling on the objections filed at the office. You can choose a dual track objection in both court and at the OCBOE and New York State BOE, or file only in court or only at the OCBOE and New York State BOE. Candidates whose petitions are ruled invalid at OCBOE and New York State BOE have 3 days from the ruling to file for judicial intervention. Now that ends our seminar, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments or contact me directly through my various social media, or dustinzarny@gmail.com is my email, or dustinzarny@ongov.net for my official email. And I'm happy to answer any questions, as I know this filing period is always very confusing for candidates and for people running for office. And that is all I have for this month's Czarny seminar, or the March Czarny seminar, since technically it was last month. How to file petitions and objections at the Onondaga County Board of Elections. Next month, or later this month in April, I'll be doing a Czarny seminar on how to vote by absentee for the primary and the general election this year. So tune in for that. Next week, I will be returning to my regular schedule, I hope. Commissioner Nakar on Tuesday will be all about designating petitions and the designating petition filing week, or as we call it, Shark Week, at the Board of Elections. And on my Zoom with Czarny next week, I'll be talking to Marty Masterpole, Onondaga County Comptroller, who will be running for re-election as I'm starting to move into the candidate portion of the election of my Zoom with Zarnies so that'll be my focus going forward in the next few months as we get ready for the general objection. And on my weekly walk this week, I had the town of Spafford up, and hopefully tomorrow I'll be having the town of Salina up. And you can get all of this content at DustinZarni.com. Remember to go subscribe, and you can get email notifications anytime I have content or election news updates, which is quite often, at least 3 to 4 times a week, and sometimes in election times, 3 or 4 times a day, depending on what's going on. So check it out and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.